WarsawJS.
Hello, and welcome to WarsawJS. I'm really happy to be your host today. And this is the 78th WarsawJS Meetup Live. And let's start. So, first of all, I'm going to present you shortly what are we going to do today. So, the agenda and everything. Okay, so first of all, say hello to WarsawJS Meetup organizing team. Can you see my slides? Yeah. So we're organizing with Ania, Maciek, Luisa, Mirek, and Łukasz. And in this team, we organized this meetup. What are we doing? What is WarsawJS? Recently, we published a short mission statement. WarsawJS exists to support both professional and novice software developers within the IT community. We intend to accelerate the process of education by sharing our knowledge and experience. Yes, and this is the mission of WarsawJS. So, that's why we're here. Here you can have a link to our Berlin Code of Conduct, which we use for the purposes of our meetup. The idea is to create an environment of mutual support and understanding, and we want everyone to feel comfortable. So please be respectful to others. If you're not going to be respectful, the organizers reserve the right to remove you from the platform if something bad is going to happen. So please be respectful and remember there is a code of conduct. If you have any ideas how to improve it, you can also create your fork and add some additional information. So on Meetup we are 5,668 people. And we will be happy if you also join us. There you're going to have all the most important information, the new information about our meetup. At WarsawJS.com, there is also an invitation to WarsawJS Slack. So if you go there, you can click Join Slack, and then you're going to join the whole community where we can discuss, and we can help you there with any issues concerning also JavaScript. The sponsors for today, without them, it's not going to be possible. It's 10 Clouds, Earthworks, FreshUp, PackHelp, PostClick, Prisma, Sumo Logic, and Xfang. All of these companies support us during these hard times of COVID, where we don't have actually live meetups on site going on, only live online meetups, but still they support us, and therefore we can work the normal way with all our videos and our workshops. So thank you very much for that. There is also a partner, it's JetBrains, and if you join us today on Clubhouse for our networking session, you will have a chance to take one or two JetBrains licenses for JetBrains products like WebStorm or IntelliJ or others. So as I said, we will have the networking session on Clubhouse. All of our speakers will be there, and then you can talk to them and join the conversation, which will be audio only. We realized that actually our networking sessions on Remo had this hard access line. It was quite difficult to join Remo, so we decided also to give a chance to Clubhouse. So please find me as Piotr_Ziętara. I will send you the link on YouTube, and then you will see how to join our room. So we also organize WarsawJS Workshop 52. It's for React on every level. And there are 4 groups. All of them are in Polish. However, if you would like to have also an English group, you can write to us. Maybe one of our trainers is going to switch to English. However, yeah, so please let us know if you're interested in an English group. On 21st February, that's Sunday. We will have 4 hours of training for an affordable price. You can check it on our website. And most of all, the speakers for today. Bartek Rutkowski from ETHWorks will start today with his talk on decentralized finance. So I will welcome him in a moment. The second speaker is Avital Tsubeli on push notifications. And the first speaker, Jonathan Kra, on CI/CD GitHub actions. Yeah, so we're very happy to host you guys. We have actually 2 guests from Israel, so that's the biggest benefit of online meetups. So we are very happy to host you today here in Warsaw. All right, so let's begin. And Bartek, can you join us? Can you hear us? Can you see us? Are you here?
Yes, I can hear you well. I hope you can see my presentation already. If
yes.
Not, okay. Okay, so I guess I'm good to start.
Yeah, so good luck, Bartek.
Okay, so first of all, thanks for having me here. I'm gonna talk a little about the world of decentralized finance. I'm gonna tell you what it is, why is it interesting, and why should you care, especially while being a web developer. Before I actually start, I want to just mention that I'm not a financial advisor. None of the things I say should be treated as such, and all of these things are my private opinions. But I'm going to actually start with one pseudo advice, which is that you are your most valuable asset. You should invest in yourself. You should work hard, learn, be curious, and the best investment you can make is your career. Right, so after this positive introduction, what is DeFi? DeFi shortcut stands for Decentralized Finance, and this is an ecosystem of all sorts of different products that provide you with financial services that are alternative to already existing banking system. These products are mostly hosted on Ethereum blockchain and utilize the technology of smart contracts. Of course, they are not exclusively on Ethereum blockchain, but Ethereum blockchain is like the place where the most things actually happen and where the most projects are actually created and where we can see the most of the synergies existing. And why am I talking about this DeFi thing? There is a screenshot from data aggregator that summarizes some statistics about DeFi, and that's a screenshot I took like almost 2 years ago on a similar presentation. And at that time, total value locked of funds in DeFi was $500 million, right? So that's like that's an exotic thing, experimental for geeks and blockchain funds, right? And today, like only 2 years later, we have around $37 billion locked in these products. So the growth is outrageous. There are many different startups that emerge and deliver their brilliant ideas, and the whole scene is growing, bringing more and more value, not only to cryptocurrency funds this time, but also to all the people that look for some sort of financial freedom and alternative to what we have right now. I'm gonna start with discussing currency, because if we are talking about blockchain stuff and decentralized finance stuff, we might think about cryptocurrency, and that's a chart that shows you the price of Ethereum cryptocurrency. It's probably cool, right? It might be some sort of, I don't know, like investment or a thing, but it's definitely not for everyone, and definitely it's not like usable on daily basis, because it's extremely volatile, it's risky, it's not something that you can utilize in your real life unless you are like, an insider, a geek, or a gambler, or a guy like this. Because of course you can find a period like that when the price is going up, but on the other hand, it's very possible that once you get involved, the price will gonna behave like this, and that's not what you expect from your store of value, right? That's a risky thing. And that's like the biggest thing probably that cryptocurrencies are, why they are not mainstream, because they are just not suitable for daily usage. And that problem is actually being solved, right? Right now we see enormous emerge of so-called stablecoins. Stablecoins are tokens, are cryptocurrencies that live on top of other blockchains. Like for example, we have plenty of stablecoins on top of Ethereum blockchain, which maintain a price pegged to, for example, US dollar value. We have cryptocurrencies that are that always one unit of this currency is always equal $1 US, but we have similar also for euro, for Hong Kong dollar, for gold, for different kind of things that we value in the real world, and we just want a digital representation of the thing on blockchain. So when we have that, we can actually start doing some serious things, not for traders, not for gamblers, but for people that just want to preserve their wealth and their savings. And let's start with some simple banking stuff. Normally, when you have a bank, you just get your hard-earned money that you obtain thanks to your work, and you put it in a bank in order to secure it. Some time ago, you were even paying for that because like bank provides you with services, which is like the main services, like making your money safe. These days, you usually not pay for that. The banks utilize your funds, so the bank can earn some yield on top of that capital, and the service is kind of for free. The other way around, there is also like the next level, which is the bank paying you for giving their capital to them, and you earn some yield on top of your savings on some sort of savings account, etc. So we have a very simple use case. You want to take your money, put it in a bank, and earn some simple yield on top of that, because you are not a Warren Buffett, you're not a crazy investor. You just want to preserve your wealth. And yeah, is bank actually doing that? At this point, we should ask a question, because, for example, me myself, I got a message some time ago from my bank that they are, for people that are not familiar with Polish language, because there are such, this mail says that the interest rate is going down and they're gonna be paying me even less. They don't even say how much is that. I had to like go deep down into some docs to actually check this out, and it's like 0.01%. So what they're actually doing, they're pushing me towards stock market if I want to, like for example, save something for my retirement. And as I said, I'm not a Warren Buffett, and I might succeed, but I also might fail. Or even if something is going too well for me, then they will stop the game and say that it's unfair and I cannot have such profits because it's too volatile, and it's not suitable for retail investors. So what can I do in order to secure something for my retirement? For example, let's explore the same idea that we had before. So simple banking, but on Ethereum blockchain. We can have a person that has some amount of DAI. DAI is the yellow thing on the left, which is the cryptocurrency that is one unit of this cryptocurrency is worth always $1. This is like a digital representation of fiat money on blockchain. And I can put it in a decentralized kind of bank and receive some other token that just represents my deposit. So we can imagine that DAI is like cash, like a paper one, and the C DAI is the digit that we see on a banking app, which is like a virtual token that just says that I have some funds in the compound. And on the other end of this whole machine, there's a guy that puts some collateral that can be like any sort of cryptocurrency. And that collateral allows the guy to borrow the funds that I deposited. Why do we need this collateral, actually? Because it's all trustless. We don't know this person, and we need to make sure that he will be incentivized to return the funds. So he will get his collateral back once he pay his DAI debt back. We can actually think about it as a mortgage, kind of. In a traditional finance, we would have a person passing ownership of a piece of real estate to the bank. So it's possible to borrow some money against that real estate, and this money is used to complete the purchase of a real estate. And then after we like spend some time working, we pay this off, and we regain the ownership of a real estate. Yeah. So back to the example. So we have this kind of thing, and then after some time, the person returns the money with some interest. And now the person that at the very beginning deposited the funds is entitled to not only withdraw the original funds, but also the interest that was earned on these funds by the protocol. And most of this gain goes straight to the depositor. Only small amount is left in the pool. It's left in the pool because, like, for example, the compound company is not a charity, so they also like need to have something, but they are extremely efficient comparing to the traditional finance, right? They don't have like dozens of physical locations. They don't hire thousands of accountants, etc. There are like probably that's a sort of smart startup that has a couple of programmers, and they don't need to take that much of profit from you, and it's all left to the users, right? And expanding that that example, the guy on the right side also gets similar tokens. So here someone put as a collateral ETH, which is Ether, the native currency on Ethereum blockchain. He gets C Ether, and actually he can also borrow DAI that I got here. So anyone can deposit anything, can borrow against that, and can earn yield on top of the thing that he deposited. Now, you might ask a question, how is it possible to withdraw the funds? Because right now I deposited some amount of DAI and it's not there anymore. So how can I do that? So the thing is that the interest rate of such loan goes up with the demand. So if there's very little supply of the funds in the pool, then the loan is going up. So more people are incentivized to deposit into the pool to fill the gap. Or on the other hand, the people that took the loan are incentivized to pay it back because it's just more important. That's a very powerful idea, and it works extremely well for a couple of years at least now in these sorts of decentralized protocols. And yeah, so that's just a one pool, people depositing stuff there. And what can it be used for? Because we can imagine that we want to deposit stuff and earn, but like, why would someone take such a loan and pay such horrendous amount of money, right? Because that's this other end doesn't sound very usable. Actually, there are tons of usages. People can do leverage. That's thing for traders. They can, for example, have only some small amount of Ether, and thanks to creating proper structure of deposits and loans, they can benefit from the rise of the price more, or they can suffer more if the price goes down, which is also possible. But what is important, everything is secured, and no one's gonna intervene and stop something, and no funds are gonna be like lost in a void. Like everything is programmed to be calculated properly. On the other hand, we can perform shorting, which is like playing on the downside. So we can borrow ETH, sell it, then when the price goes down, we can rebuy it, and then return it and keep the rest of the DAIs, like things like that. These are just examples. Of course, you can also buy stuff, believe me or not, but there are some people that work in this crypto space and actually consider their cryptocurrencies their wealth and their based asset, and they are not actually willing to sell anything. So people often put their cryptocurrencies as collateral and borrow this DAI to buy some goods, and then as they work, they repay this debt or hope that the cryptocurrency value will appreciate faster than their debt raises, and they just hope that they won't be that they won't need to repay it ever. That is not a good idea, I think, to do such thing, but there are people that do that. But at the end of the day, they can just self-liquidate the position. So sell the ETH from the inside, repay the debt, and take the rest of the Ether. So there are multiple use cases, and there are tons of things built on top of that. And there is like huge demand for such funds that are available on chain and that are free to program and to build automated processes on top. And now we go to the very important issue, which is governance, right? Because I was saying that this is decentralized, and like, how is it decentralized actually? Because that's some sort of a company, right? So we are now like getting rid of the old banks, right? And of all the institutions that proved to be working. Maybe they are not paying very well, but they work and they are trustworthy, and they have like they have roots deep in our society. So how does it happen that we should then trust these kind of startup instead? The thing is that these startups are not governed by the companies. So whenever there is someone that puts a deposit and earns some yield on top of that, this person also earns some amount of comp tokens. And the same happens on the second side, which is the lender, which also like borrows funds on the borrower side, borrows funds and also acquires some amount of comp tokens. They can sell it, of course. That's a one way to go. But the true utility of this comp token, which is acquired once you like all the time when you are using the protocol. So if you are an active user of the protocol, then you gain this comp token, and this comp token is nothing more and nothing less than a voting power. And all the people that are active users of the protocol, so either way benefit from the deposits, for example, or on the other hand, build their businesses on top of such loans and also like benefit from the existence of the protocol, they all collectively decide about what's happening in the protocol, how to change the smart contracts, what should be the new features, how the parameters should behave, etc. So the power truly here lays in the user's hands. Of course, like a small user, like for example me, I don't like make real politics out there, but the forums are open and public, and anyone can propose anything. And there is like a really serious chance that if you have a good idea, then voters will approve and will actually implement your change. This is something that's actually happening, and everyone has real right to vote and participate in this democratic process. And yeah, people vote. But there is like one last weak point of that, because all of these applications need to have a front end, right? Because of course there are some abstract smart contracts living somewhere. There is some tokens and this blockchain kind of thingy. But how to manage this? How to interact with this kind of thing? If you are not like a pro blockchain geek, well, apparently it's easier than you think. Because there is, of course, like one kind of default front end. Like when the startup is young, then of course, like the founding company sets up some piece of front end, and that's a default way to go. But sometimes, like in the long run, when the process democratizes, then it all changes, and then community can decide that we want to have a new thing, and we want to change something, and we want to change the host, for example, for the front-end application, or we want to completely change the development team for the front-end application. And what's also interesting is that smart contracts are publicly available. There's no like a backend of these applications. There is like no central server. There are like no keys for admins, etc. So anyone can build any frontend that interacts with any system. And here's the interesting part, that people actually do that. And here you can see, for example, an interface of an app that is not creating more products like core blockchain products, but only focuses on improving the user experience and the usability of these protocols. They are putting everything together so you can actually use it, and so it's like, so all the synergies are visible, and so it's just better. And also there are startups that are creating, for example, dashboards and aggregators where you can manage all your funds on different protocols in one place, and also print some sort of spreadsheet that will point out all the tax implications of your actions, because of course it's no longer like a cryptocurrency space. It's no longer this Wild West when you do some stuff, like people pay taxes, people report everything to the proper offices, and it can also be automated, and there are startups that do that. And what's the best is that if you have only a little small idea about what to do, then this is probably the best place to do it, because you don't need a full product, you don't need a backend, you don't need servers, you don't need almost anything. The only thing that you need is an idea for an interface, and there are probably gonna be tons of people that's gonna appreciate it and welcome it with open arms. But there are lots of challenges, because actually developing such interfaces for these blockchain kind of things is not that simple. There are UX, like I want to categorize this in a three main baskets. First is UX, second is security, and third is delays, which is kind of obvious. So UX, these products are extremely complex, and everything needs to be very informative, and also this is still kind of niche, and we want to push this industry to a like broader adoption, right? So we don't want it to be like exclusively used by some geeks, but by all the people, because right now, these days, like a real value arises here that can be utilized by all of the people that just want to manage their funds in like some reasonable way, not only like some cryptocurrency geeks. And also we want to have here an avant-garde, so we don't want to copycat some old patterns that are used in banking applications. We want to have everything better, smarter, and cleaner and more beautiful. And on the other hand, the security, that's extremely important, right? Once that's a story I've already told some time ago, but probably that's a very common scenario. I once used a shop online, and then I just hit the order button, and the order was made twice, right? I don't know why. So what I did, I just called the support, and then they deleted one order, and that was all fine. On blockchain, there is no support. So if you create a piece of frontend that just performs some action twice, then it's really bad. Yeah, like everything needs to be perfect. Everything needs to be perfectly secure, and everything needs to follow all the state-of-art privacy requirements. It's essential for such an application to be usable and actually matter in the space. And there is like a technical thing, which is the delay thing, because everything on blockchain happens really slow. Of course, really slow, which is like few seconds, few minutes. But I guess that if you see like a page loading for like half a minute, for example, then you might assume that something is not working. Here, it's all working, but it just takes that amount of time, and you need to handle it on the insights, but also in a UX way that user is really sure that everything is going fine, and that's it might not sound like really challenging thing, but it is really challenging thing at the end of the day. Yeah, and actually that's like that kind of space is like a kind of a playground for all sorts of web developers, because that blockchain development thing is like in very small portion it's smart contracts. Mostly it's front end, it's creating UX, it's creating robust application, it's creating good UI, and it's creating all the data storage in the browser, its integration with plugins, etc. It's and also there are other challenges, for example, touching the tooling matter, and it's actually worth it, because here, like, you are not creating like another kind of the same of thing, another landing page, another online shop. Like every day it's something completely different. There's like no routine. There are even no patterns that are used all across the industry. If you have a good idea to organize architecture, then probably you have a great chance of creating something that will be adopted worldwide. This front end is essential for everything here, and the whole ecosystem is extremely dynamic. So, for example, if there's like a new version of something, right? I've heard some time ago from a friend that there's like a new version of C#. Yeah, that's perfect. Like after like a month or years, here like the new version of something is called Tuesday. Like all the time we have something extremely new, something cutting edge, and changing the landscape completely. And also it's attractive for you as a person that wants to develop their career, because there are tons of opportunities for creating open source, and that's both from the product side, and because most of the products are open sourced at the end. But on the other hand, there's still plenty of tools missing, and if you have an idea for a tool, then in a normal ecosystem, probably it's already done and you can try to compete with already existing tool. But here, if you have a good idea, then it's very likely that it doesn't exist, and you can be the first one to deliver it. And yeah, it's not like it's very painful to develop here, but there are still plenty of things to do. And yeah, and the last remark, that's a screenshot from a banking application of mine, and here I'm supposed to buy stuff. So who might want to create a UI like this when you can create a UI like this, and work with products that look far better and go much faster? Yeah, so thank you for joining me. I hope that was at least a little bit interesting for you. I hope that I wasn't going too fast. And yeah, thank you. If you have any questions, I'll be really happy to answer. Or right after the presentation, I don't know if we're gonna have some time for that, or I'm gonna be present on the Clubhouse discussion panel, so there. And yeah, follow me on Twitter, and stay tuned for future presentations. Thank you.
Congratulations, Bartek. Great presentation. There is some questions from Gondron. Do you need to tokenize the ownership of some tangible thing to use it as a collateral? In example, tokenize your car to borrow against it.
Yes, yes, that's of course you need to do that, and this is something that's still like kind of work in progress, right? Right now, you can easily tokenize things that are already tokenized and that are already on chain. So all sorts of cryptocurrencies or non-fungible tokens that we have. But when it comes to the physical assets like real estate or cars or pieces of art, this is something that startups are working on right now, and it's not difficult from the technical perspective because that's pretty straightforward for us, but it's all a legal work. So so there are a lot of like legal tech startups that are pushing this topic forward, and I really believe that it's gonna happen in the future, in the next couple of years. But it's not included in the state of the art as it is today. So I hope it's gonna happen soon. As an interesting fact, I can tell you that one of the biggest protocols in the space, which is Aave, which is similar to Compound, and they are based in Europe. They have plenty of already. They have already plenty of regulatory approvals from several regulators across the Europe, and I think that they are gonna like push the topic the fastest from the scene, and they are gonna make it. And I think that we're gonna see very interesting things very soon.
Okay, Bartek, so thank you very much. You can expect some questions also on Slack before we join the Clubhouse. We will join Clubhouse at 8 o'clock. So then I hope you're going to be with us. And thank you very much again, and great applause for you. As I promised, your talk will be obviously published on our YouTube, so everything will be permanent. And it's possible to see this video again. All right, so next speaker, can I ask Avital to come here and join us? Hello.
I'm here. Hey.
Avital, I'm very happy to be this time your host, because last time you were hosting the event.
This is true. Thank you.
Oktoberfest, and you impressed me so much with the storytelling line, and I actually didn't know that you're also a tech speaker. I saw your video on Nordic Conf. It was absolutely amazing. I'm really excited. It's not too much pressure. However, thank you very much, Vital, that you're joining to us, and let's start with your 25 minutes.
Cool. Well, I have a very great story for you today, Piotr. So I hope you enjoy it. So sorry.
Yeah, I will leave you now alone, so you can.
Okay. Bye.
See you.
So when I was growing up in the United States to Israeli parents, most of the content, the books, the movies that I received at a pretty young age were in Hebrew. Of course, this was for the purpose of teaching me the language before, the English took over my brain. And Mom, Dad, if you're watching this, thank you, because it worked. I now speak a couple languages. Anyway, one tape that I loved a lot as a child was called Hakina Nechama, which in Hebrew means Nechama the louse. Nechama is the name. If you don't know what a louse is, because a bunch of people don't, it's actually the singular form of lice. Those gross things that crawl around your children's heads. I know that's disgusting, but it actually, it told a very cute story about a little pink louse, as you see, whose name was Nechama, who decided that she didn't want to be like every other louse, and she wanted to get out there and see the world. She wanted to travel. She wanted to see other cities and meet other lice. The problem is that obviously nobody liked her and was constantly trying to get rid of her. And so she jumped from head to head, trying to find a home, until she accidentally lands on the head of this bald man. And he is so excited to have her because he now has the same problem as people with hair. And he's always wanted to, be one of those people with hair. And they essentially become friends and live happily ever after. Now, this is a ridiculous story that's supposed to teach children about the perils of lice, and you're wondering why I'm telling you this. My name is Avital. I am the Israel developer advocate for Vonage, and when I joined last year and learned about our communications platform and how many messages it handles per day, I suddenly thought of this, of the 1 in a million little notification making its way on this great journey of 5, 10, 15 stops, and in just milliseconds, in this case, arriving where it needs to be. And it made me think of this cute little pink louse that I loved as a kid, 1 in millions, who was, who had purpose and ambition, and eventually made it to the head of the bald man who wanted her perfect match, precisely where she needed to be. What a miracle, isn't it? But here's the thing, in the world of children's books, it's happily ever after. But in real life, and you know this as engineers who fight bugs for a living, and you know this as speakers who have fallen prey to the demo gods, things don't go as planned. Objects get lost. Notifications never make it to their destination. So let's talk about this real life of infrastructure engineering, of tracing our steps and ensuring that we know what's actually going on at every point of the dangerous journey, and making sure we don't get lost, we don't lose the rebels along the way. But first, I'll give you a little context. The Vonage Business Communications Platform, the system I'll talk about today, offers capabilities for voice messaging, video, and voicemail on both desktop and mobile. This platform is home to 150,000 users who, through all those functionalities, produce 800 notifications per second. And the kicker? They happen in 15 milliseconds, because that's the kind of standards that you and I are used to nowadays. So what does this 15 millisecond journey of a cute little notification look like? Well, in order to show you that, I need to start at the very beginning, to when you would log in to the communications platform. This is your laptop. So let's say you're on your computer, you're using the desktop app. Your laptop, through the client, connects to what we call the bus station, because this entire infrastructure that I'm about to show you is called the bus, and this API is the first point where the client of the communication platform can make an introduction. Now, the bus, it introduces itself to the bus. It says, "Hi, I'm John's computer, and I would like to sign up for notifications." The bus pings its API, which we called Frizzle because we're clever and the children's book references never end, to tell it about the new connection. All of the identifying information gets stored. Frizzle connects with the message broker and to create a queue for you, if you or use the same one if you have one, and with the help of the message protocol, it determines which queue to put your messages in. The protocol then returns a URL, and thus a WebSocket connection is formed between your client and this entire thing that we call the bus. And then, when someone sends a message to you, it hits Frizzle, the API. Frizzle sends the notification to the message broker, which sends it to the WebSocket connection that you have open, and makes it to your device. So far, so good, right? Wrong. What about the cell phones, the mobile app? I can't exactly maintain a WebSocket connection with the phone at all times, can I? So what about those push notifications that I promised in the title of my talk? So when you fire up your mobile app, with this platform, with this app, a similar flow happens as before. Your phone introduces itself, connects to the bus station, and introduces itself with your ID, information about your device, and something called a push token, which we'll use later. Now, in your app, like in most apps, you've set preferences regarding which notifications you would like to receive. Maybe you want to see calls, but you don't want to see messages. Or maybe you only want to receive direct messages, but you don't want to receive group chat messages. So in that introduction, the app is sending all that information about those settings. The API then handles and stores away this information, and you are now signed up to receive push notifications. And now the part that I left out in the first flow, so as not to confuse you, goes like this. When Frizzle sends a notification to your queue, as we saw before, it actually also sends it in parallel to the HTTP service. This service, a pretty generic HTTP service written by us in Node, knows whether you signed up for push notifications and whether to forward your messages to PushMe. PushMe is another Node service that we wrote. It has a database of push tokens which identify your app, and they're mapped to each user, which tell it which operating system to send to and which device. Now, this is important for you if you are building an iOS app, because ever since iOS 13, we were required to display every single notification that hits the phone. And when I say notification, I don't just mean the body of the message you received. Notifications can be messages, phone calls, invitations to a group video meeting. They can be message delivered. They can be message opened receipts. And you don't want all of that showing up on the user's phone. Now, the way it used to be pre-iOS 13 is that all notifications would arrive to your app, and the app itself would decide whether to display it. But now with this new change, we need to display everything that comes through, and specifically what kind of notification will it show? Like, is it a full screen phone call, or is it just a rectangle with some text? So push me, in this case, plays a super crucial role in determining whether to mute that notification, as we call it, meaning not send it at all, or to actually send it to you, and if so, to specify exactly how it will appear on your phone. Great, and so now that we know how the messages get to you, how can we guarantee arrival for 16 million daily notifications? Well, the obvious answer is trace IDs in the logs, ensuring that the same trace ID is always used for that specific notification in each service that that notification is going through. But how do we do that while separating business logic from infrastructure? If we've got a trace ID everywhere, we don't want a trace ID showing up all over our code, do we? In this case, a handy NPM package comes to the rescue. And this part is important even if you're not trying to build a massive communications platform. I'm talking about a continuation local storage package, or CLS hooked as it's called, which uses async hooks in order to maintain something like a local storage for each session, for each request session. Now, if you're already using Node 14, though, there's actually an experimental API built in that does just this. It basically allows for the trace ID to be saved in a local storage so that it can be retrieved for any log and any request at any point of the flow. Now, in our case, there are 3 places that we need to worry about tracing: arrival at a service, exiting a service, and logging the various events that happen within that service. And we wanted this to be part of the infrastructure instead of getting tangled in the rest of the logic, as I mentioned before. So if you consider this block of the diagram that we looked at before, and I know we're looking at this a lot, and I hope you like it because I spent a good amount of time on it. If we consider this part, imagine that there's a push notification headed to your phone telling you that you received a message from Piotr. As we saw before, it is cute Mrs. Frizzle who sends the notification as a request to both the message queue that we saw before and the bus HTTP service. Now, upon arrival to the HTTP service, there is a middleware in place that grabs that trace ID, so that's C1D987F if you can't read it, from the headers of the request and places them in the session's local storage. And we'll see what that looks like in the code in a second. And now various logs happen, as different things happen, like a log stating that the notification with this trace ID has arrived, and then another log about the fact that the user is signed up to receive push notifications. So yes, we can send this along. And then another log right before the notification heads out. And now using the middleware, that trace ID is added each time to those logs before they're written. Those aren't the only logs, by the way, there are others. And then, assuming you're accepting push notifications, the interpreter grabs the notification right before it heads to push me and tags that trace ID to the headers of the request. And so now let's see what that looks like in our code, which has all been taken from the real production code of the bus HTTP service. First of all, we create an instance of that CLS middleware like this. We're going to be looking at that NS in a second, so pay attention to it. And then, firstly, the code that you're seeing here is what intercepts a request when it arrives at the service. The middleware first checks whether the headers have a trace ID. Assuming it just arrived from Frizzle, then it should have a trace ID. If it doesn't, then a new one is created. Once that is taken care of, a few lines below, you'll see the trace ID is set on the CLS namespace. And that saves that ID to its local storage instance. Now, at this point, once we've done that, we can mind our business, right? Doing things, checking the database. We want to know if this guy is signed up to receive push notifications. And for each of these steps, a log is written, and then before it is sealed, it is stopped by the middleware again, which will add the trace ID to the log by taking it from the local storage, which you can see in the NS get and the add tracing to log entry above. And finally, the same interpreter sits on Axios, the HTTP client, right before a request is about to go to another service. We catch that request right before it goes off. We take the trace ID from the local storage and add the trace ID to the header. And all of this ensures that the logger doesn't need to know anything about the trace ID. Now, obviously, CLS is super powerful in this context, but it doesn't only need to be used for logging. You can use this for any situation where you want to kind of like separate the business logic from infrastructure stuff like this. You want to have, user information available at every step of the way along your services, but it is particularly useful in this case for logging and tracing. Because now, when PushMe finally sends that notification to your device, we will have that final log with the trace ID in question, and we know that we sent that notification to the App Store. That way, if a notification was sent to your phone and you didn't get it, we can pretty much blame Apple, because don't we love blaming Apple? Especially when a discussion session is happening on an app that only exists on the Apple Store. That one was pointed at you, Piotr. Anyway, this is what a series of logs looks like for a notification about an inbound call. There are a bunch more, but I didn't want to flood you with logs. So these logs include actions, searches, inbound and outbound requests. If you look at the timestamps, you will notice that it's going from Frizzle to the HTTP service to PushMe in a matter of 4 milliseconds. And so this might not be the heroic journey of a cute little parasite around the world, but hey, for all you know, these could be the notifications. These could be the logs of a little notification that made it around the world in under 15 milliseconds. I would like to thank you for having me this evening. Thank you for inviting me. Thank you to Jonathan for the support. And a very special thank you to Ori Schofman from Vonage, who gave me tons of hours of patience and taught me enough about the bus so that I could give it the representation it deserves. Thank you.
Congratulations, Avital. What a story. Thank you very much.
It was for you.
Thanks so much. You actually also provide workshops on that, and there is one actually free space on the next workshop on 15th of February, right?
There is, yeah.
I took one, but there is one more. So if someone wants to join us, please write us on Slack on random. And yeah, you had some questions. Yeah, one of them is obviously if it's all open source.
It's not. We are working on it because a bunch of the node services are pretty generic, so they can be used for other cases. It's, we're a corporate and these things take time, but it is our plan to open source a bunch of these services. We can talk about it after if you want, and we could see what we could work out together.
Okay, that's fantastic. That's great, Avital, and thank you. It was a real honor to host you. And
thank you for having me.
I'll record that because that talk was absolutely exceptional, and I hope we can continue later at 8. We'll join Clubhouse. I know you have the app, so
I do.
I will open the WarsawJS room. All right. So now I need to see Jonathan here. Jonathan Kra, are you there?
Yeah, I am. Hi all.
Well, it's awesome to see you. You're actually a very well known person here in Warsaw. You were at CloudFront.js 2018, 2019, and also WarsawJS. So it's I'm so happy to host you again.
Yeah, I feel like home every time I'm here.
Yes, so great to see you, and I will give you now 22 minutes for your presentation and then short time for questions.
Cool.
So good luck, Yoni.
Thank you. Okay, good evening or good night, wherever you are now. Thanks for having me here. I have a question for you. If you, I don't know, I don't think we have a chat, but if any of you cooks, this is the time to share on YouTube or something what you like to eat, so I'll be able to see it wherever you share stuff that we see on screen. And the story, I start with cooking because cooking is a manual process. Okay, every time you cook, it comes out a bit differently, right? It's not consistent. Sometimes a bit more salty, sometimes a bit more spicy. And that's because it's a manual process.
Okay, sometimes it's just a bit more salty, sometimes it's catastrophic. So you can't even eat it, or it might, do something really bad like here. But I'm telling you that because a friend of mine thought about that, and he invented something called Bistro, which is a robo kitchen. It's pretty awesome. Actually, chefs put in their recipes inside, and this kitchen just creates chef meals. Or not only chefs, but chefs can say exactly what they want, and every dish comes out exactly the same. It's very predictable and very consistent. And I'm not coming really, I didn't come here to talk to you about food really, but I'm coming to talk to you about automation, and automation in software, and more specifically CI/CD, continuous integration and continuous deployment, and how important it is for these processes to be consistent. So I'm Jonathan. For those who don't know me, I'm a software architect at Vonage. I work a lot with Avital, which was amazing in her talk right now, and she's always amazing. I used to be a neuroscientist, and I did lots of bunches of things, and I'm also a runner. And some of you don't know this about me, but I'm also a superstar in martial arts. Yeah, that's me, kicking high over there. So yeah, that's deep fake, but I thought it was funny. So we said we're going to talk about CI/CD. And we'll see what CI/CD is. We'll actually see it with our own eyes in production. We'll see how we implement this on GitHub and GitHub Actions, which is relatively new. And we'll see optimizations for that, because just last week, our team just crossed the boundaries set by our company, and GitHub called our DevOps and said, you don't have any more GitHub Actions minutes. So either you pay us more, or we stop the service, or something like that. So we had to pay more. And they asked us to optimize our implementation. So we have a lot of experience with that as well. CI/CD. I'll tell a story of a CI/CD. There are many variants. A CI/CD would probably start with a pull request. Okay, you code a feature, you push it, and you create a pull request. And when this pull request arrives to GitHub, some process starts that builds, tests, lints, and makes sure certain standard security or whatever processes you have starts kicking. And if they pass, that means we can merge it to our main branch. Okay, it might have a manual process of code review, but it's part of coding. But eventually, if it passes all these tests, it means it's viable for merge. And once it's merged, we can start the process of deployment. What does that mean? We can raise a version. We say this is a new feature, or this is a bug fix, and we can raise a version. And we do some quality tests before, like smoke tests or something like that. And eventually we deploy. And up to here, it's the integration. We integrate code of our team or teams into the main branch. And here's the process of deployment. And all of this process, or most of it, will be totally automatic. And this will reduce the possibility of, I don't know, putting too much salt or too less sugar, or mixing them both during the process, which might cause problems if we deploy the wrong thing to the wrong place. So let's see it in action. Why not? So this is a project that I've created for this event. It's a company repo. What I'm going to do, I'm going to push this. Let's see where we are. OK, so we are on a branch that's called Fix Logo. And I'm going to push it. Probably it won't work. Yeah, it's a new branch. So now you know it's a new branch. So I'll have to set it in the repo. And there we go. I pushed a new branch. This branch looks like this. This is our product. And as you can see, it was called Fix Logo because the logo is invisible. I hope it will work. I know. But when I'm coming to the repo, I can see I've just pushed it, and I can create a pull request, which is the first step in our CI process. So let's quickly create a pull request. And it was created. And now we should be able to see this. This is our CI step kicking in. We're going to test and build. Let's see what it does. If we go into the details of this process, we can see it sets up the job. And now it's going to start the whole process of building a product, building our application and testing it. Wow, it's got crazy. So what it does, it checks out our repository. It sets up Node.js. It installs our dependencies, runs lint and test, and code coverage. And once it's done, we know that we're OK. If any of these processes fail, we won't be able to merge. Now, in this case, let's go back to a pull request. We see that this button, the squash and merge, is available. And it's available because we need to make sure that we cannot merge before we actually have this requirement met. So how do we do that on GitHub? I'll quickly do that. So you go to settings and you go to branches. And inside branches, you can edit the protection rules of branches. So here I have the main branch protection rules. First of all, I want all pull requests to require review. Okay, and there are several options for that. More interesting is they require status checks to pass. And here I can see all of my CI processes that I can choose from that might be required for a CI to pass. So I'll choose the build test because that's what I want for now. I'll save the changes. Probably need to add the password. I hope I remember it. Woohoo. And let's go back to our pull request and see what happens. It's probably going to take a while, a few minutes. So it's in progress, but now we see that it's blocked. Okay, we see that it's blocked because this is required and we require a review. So I'm going to cheat and I'll use my administrator to merge, but let's see if this can go green. Should take a few more minutes. Okay, so it now runs the linting. It's going to run the tests, and then it's going to pass. Okay, let's leave this process and see if I want to merge it. Okay. It's running the test. And hopefully, yes. So now it's running the code coverage and everything passes. Let's go back to C. So if we look at the test, so we see, yes, code coverage, 100%, just like in your application. And the test and build pass, and this is green. So now I'm going to cheat. I'm not going to wait for a code review because I write perfect code, of course. And I'm going to squash and merge, and yes. So now this is merge. And we can go to actions now and see that we have a post-merge process that's going to do the actual deployment. It's going to raise the version and do exactly what we said it's going to do. So we're going to go over the code and see how it's done in the code. So let's go to the basic CI step. Okay, our project, in order to utilize GitHub action, it needs this .github folder and the workflows folder. Inside, we have YAML files. Here we have the CI YAML. And this is pretty basic action. It has a name, which is pretty obvious what it does, but this is the most important part because this is the trigger. We want to trigger on pull request to the branch main. So every pull request or every push to the pull request is going to trigger this one. And what it does, exactly what we saw. It's going to check out, it's going to set up node, And as you can see, these run statements are just command line, just like you use in your local machine when you develop. So you can actually create very complex and flexible actions on your own. But it doesn't end there. You have these uses, and you can see I'm taking some action from the actions marketplace. So there are thousands of actions out there. You can connect, you can use it to checkout, to set up node. You can use it to connect it to Slack or Jira or whatever. And this is very, very, very flexible, and you have almost anything you want. So this is our basic CI, and you can see it's very simple to create that. You only need this file. The moment you push this file to a pull request, it starts kicking in, and it just works from the moment you push it. That's it. And let's see if we can, let's see how we used it. No, sorry, cover alt, I think. No, I need to remember where the code is. And coverage. So if I'll check out coverage, you'll be able to see that all I did was edit this. And this created the whole process of code coverage for me, including the failure percentage and all that stuff. It connected me to coveralls. And this is another GitHub action from the marketplace. And we talked a bit about optimization, and let's see how we can optimize it, because some of the processes, this is a very simple application, but let's say that yarn install, for instance, might take a few minutes. Or if you have a big repository, the build process might take a very long time. So you might want to optimize it. So let's check out the optimize tag and see what I did here. So we have the jobs running. We had one job before. We had only build and test, but now we have three. We have install dependencies, and we have lint, and we have test. Lint and test, if you look at them, they are dependent on install dependencies. So they run sequentially to install dependencies, but both of them run in parallel. That means that I'm going to save time because I'm going to install the dependencies only once. You see, I'm doing the exact same thing, but here I'm using the cache action, which is, again, taken from the marketplace. I don't have to send the cache to S3 or any cloud service and then pull it from there and make sure that the cache is valid. This cache action is doing everything for me. And then I install the dependencies only if I do not have cache. So now the lint and the test, if you look here, instead of installing, instead of doing yarn install, they just take the cache and then lint. And then they test. But there is no yarn install anymore. And the same can be done for build or any artifact that you're creating that's taking a long time, and you don't want to waste that time on each and every job. In addition, the lint and the test are running in parallel, which means we also saved time for the developer, so it doesn't have to wait until the lint, and then the test will start, and then we pay twice. So instead, they're running in parallel, and we save a lot of time. And so this is about the CI. And what about the CD? So if we saw that our CD process started, let's take a look at it. So, sorry, typo. Okay, so this is our CD. So we saw the post-merge process, and this time the difference is that the post-merge process starts on pull request type closed. So whenever we have a closed pull request, and not just closed, in the if clause, we actually make sure that it's closed and merged. because when a pull request is merged, it's also closed. So this is the way to catch merged pull requests. And only then we start the process of, again, testing and installing dependencies again. And this is the quality test process that I've shown you before. And I build components and I raise the version. And eventually I push the changes into, into main again. So I push the changes of the version. Now package.json has the right version, the new version. And then I create a tag release with this v prefix. So the deploy demo actually fires on push tags and that starts with a v. So every time I push the new tag, this deploy process starts kicking, and you can see it again, it does the same, install dependencies, eventually builds the demo, builds the deploy demo. And again, I'm using a GitHub action from the marketplace to deploy. And with zero code, I have a fully fledged CI/CD process using just the command line and some actions from the marketplace. So I can't stress enough the importance of the marketplace. In the marketplace, you have tons of actions from various categories. As I said, you can connect it to Slack, to Jenkins, to Circle CI, to whatever, Lambda functions. You can do tons of automations with it. And caching is super important. We saw that for optimization. We saw how to parallel jobs and metrics that I didn't talk about, but it looks like this. You can create matrices of variables. For instance, you want operating systems and Node.js. And if you say runs on metrics OS, and below you do the same for metrics.node version, so GitHub Actions will do all of the permutations for you. So you'll have 9 processes running in parallel, testing all of the things that you take into account when you want to test. And that's super powerful. And we talked about deployment when we saw that we can deploy to GitHub pages. We can also do npm publish. That's easy because it's a command line, and we can do whatever we want. We can install Heroku command line or AWS and deploy anywhere we want. What I didn't talk about is secrets, which is an important part. And I kind of cheated because in the post-merge, I'm pushing to the main. And the main, as you remember at the beginning, we set to be a protected branch. So we can't push directly to main unless we have an admin privilege. So here in the checkout process, I set up the token to be my private access token, my GitHub token, which is an admin. That's how I was able to to squash and commit without review. So if I go here to the repository again and I go to settings, and here I have secrets, and I can set up my secrets. Here I have my path secret, and I can create a new one and bring, I don't know, AWS secrets or Heroku secrets and whatever secrets that you want to keep that can be added into the CI this way. It looks like Angular, but with $1 before the binding or whatever, but it works. Let's see for a second if we have this ready. So if we look at the actions, we see that these completed the deploy. I didn't touch anything. Let's go to the hunt. Let's refresh. I hope it helped. No, it didn't work. I think it didn't work because it cannot find the assets. So it is an Angular issue of the build. I have to remember how to do the base ref and stuff like that. But eventually it should fix it. I don't know. I should take a look at it. Won't waste your time on Angular stuff. But trust me that it deployed. Actually, we can see it here. Sorry. We can see the deployment went well because if we go here, we can see that the GH pages was updated just 6 minutes ago. So it was us. So that's GitHub Actions, and thank you for having me here tonight. Do you have any questions?
Thank you very much. I think there will be some questions. One obviously from me. What other CI/CD options did you try before? Not only GitHub Actions, right? Maybe because there are, there's Circle CI, for example, or others. So how would you compare them?
Yeah, actually, that's funny because I once wrote an article for the Travis CI blog, and someone contacted me and thought I'm a representative of Travis CI and asked me to support his conference. But I've tried. I've worked with Travis CI, Circle CI, and Jenkins. And I think I didn't get to work with GitLab. Also has some actions, something like that, if I'm not mistaken. But GitHub Actions, if you're on GitHub, it's so comfortable, it's so out of the box that I can't see why to look elsewhere right now.
Okay, awesome. That's great to hear, because I was always worried that there actually, as I remember, Travis was quite expensive at some level for me when I was using it, and I was actually expecting GitHub to expand here, and because also, as I know, GitLab has quite good established CI/CD pipeline. So. And there are also from the other side, from the server side, coming some other contests like I can't might not know the name, but generally there is a lot of things happening on that.
Yeah, so, definitely. But if you're on GitHub, I think GitHub Actions is like zero learning curve.
Wow. Okay, that's absolutely amazing, and thank you very much for the talk, Jonathan. I think if there will be some more questions, maybe on our Slack, because as I know, unfortunately, you're not going to join me, Bartek, and Avital in the room on Clubhouse. So I generally feel quite not comfortable with this, that Android users are not very included this time. So I wanted to say that the first Android user who will also Gondron mentioned that you can use your own runners on GitHub too. Yeah, so that's a nice additional comment. So I wanted to declare that if someone is an Android user and will write to me, "Hey Piotr, I wanted to join you on Clubhouse, but I couldn't because I'm an Android user," I will give a web server license because that's really unfair that they cannot join. So really, guys, sorry for that. Hopefully next month we will have a more inclusive solution here. So thanks a lot, Jonathan, and actually that summarizes our event. I want to say the last thing. Yeah, I will share my screen for a moment. Chrome tab. Okay, so the sponsors of today's event were 10 Clouds, ETHWorks, FreshUp, PackHelp, PostClick, Prisma, Sumo Logic, and XFang. So thank you very much, sponsors, for this, because thanks to you, our event runs well, unless there is COVID time. And what I wanted to say is that next month we will have again on 10th of March our event. It's going to be online. However, it's much closer to move to offline. Possibly there will be a hybrid solution between. However, we continue to run our event online. So thank you very much for your attention, and let's let's move to Clubhouse. Okay, Gelu, you won. you can get a WebStorm or another JetBrains license. So just write to me at WarsawJS Slack, and I will send you to your email. Okay, so thanks again. Thank you very much, and have a nice evening. See you.